The skies over Singapore are angry. Heavy rain pours down hard, and strong winds blow wildly. Many planes fly in circles high above, waiting for the storm to stop a bit. One of them is Singapore Airlines Flight 319. It is a big Boeing 777 plane with 280 people on board. The plane flew all the way from London, a long trip of 13 hours. Now, it waits in the air, but it is running out of fuel fast. Every minute, the bad weather gets worse, and the pilots have fewer choices. Will they land safely at an airport? Or will the fuel run out first, causing big trouble? This is a scary story about how things can go wrong quickly on a plane. It is the story of Singapore Airlines Flight 319. On October 24th, 2022, in the evening, 280 people got on Singapore Airlines Flight 319 at London's Heathrow Airport. The plane is a Boeing 777, ready for a 13-hour flight to Singapore. The people on board are different. Some are from Singapore going home after a vacation. Others are business people traveling between big cities for work. And some are tourists from Europe who want to see Southeast Asia, starting from Singapore. In the front of the plane, the cockpit, there is a 55-year-old captain in charge. He has flown a lot, more than 14,000 hours, and over 10,000 of those on the Boeing 777. He will watch and help while the first officer flies the plane. The first officer is 31 years old, also from Singapore, and he has flown over 2,000 hours, mostly on this type of plane. There is also a relief captain who will take turns so everyone can rest before landing in Singapore. Before the plane leaves, the pilots check the weather. The forecast says there might be some light to medium storms and rain when they arrive in Singapore. This is normal for Singapore because it is an island near warm oceans that makes storms often. The pilots think about taking extra fuel for the bad weather. But the weather does not look too bad, and there are no big storms on the way. So, the captain says the planned 106,000 kilograms of fuel is enough. They expect to save some fuel with shortcuts over Europe. If something goes wrong, there are other airports close by, like Paya Lebar Air Base near Changi, and Kuala Lumpur and Senayan, Malaysia. Everything is ready. It is a calm night at Heathrow. At almost 8 p.m., the plane moves back from the gate. The pilots start the two big engines and taxi to runway 27R. For people from Singapore, flying with Singapore Airlines feels like being home already. The airline started in 1972 and is known around the world for being safe, on time, and great service. But as Flight 319 taxis, trouble is starting far away in Singapore. The pilots do not know yet, but they will soon fight to stay safe. For now, all is quiet. The first officer lines up on the runway and pushes the engines to take off. In seconds, the plane is in the air, climbing over London. Half an hour later, as the plane flies over Belgium, it reaches 31,000 feet. It's starting high level. The pilots stay there until the plane uses some fuel and gets lighter, then they can go higher to save more fuel. In the cabin, the crew starts serving food and drinks. People eat, watch movies, and relax as the plane flies over Europe. They will land in Singapore at 9 a.m. local time, which is 1 p.m. in London. It is a long night flight. After food, the lights dim, and many try to sleep. In the cockpit, everything is normal. As expected, air traffic control gives shortcuts over Europe because it is night and less busy. Later, the relief captain comes in and takes over from the captain. In a few hours, he will do the same for the first officer. This way, both main pilots rest well before landing. The plane flies on autopilot toward the morning sun. If anyone on the ground listens, they hear a soft whoosh as it passes at 14 kilometers per minute. Almost 12 hours after leaving London, the plane starts to go down towards Singapore. After a long night in tight seats, the crew serves breakfast and snacks. It is morning in London. The relief captain goes to rest. Now, the two main pilots are back, rested, and planning the landing. Ahead is Malaysia, and to the right, the Strait of Malacca. They will fly north of Kuala Lumpur and come to Singapore from the north. The computer says they will land with 7,000 kilograms of fuel, more than the 3,000 kilograms needed by rules. This extra fuel lets them hold for 30 minutes at 1,500 feet if they miss the landing. Air traffic control says to aim for runway 20 or at Singapore. This is easy because it is almost straight from the north. But other planes trying to land there have problems. The winds changed fast, and now there are tailwinds over 10 knots. This is too much for safe landing on most planes. Winds change like this in storms. If Flight 319 is lucky, the winds will be better when they try. For now, they cannot go straight in. They must hold. Control tells them to circle over Paspu, 40 miles north of the airport. The first officer puts this in the computer and starts going down. At 4:05 p.m., they enter the hold at Paspu. The captain uses the weather radar to see the storms. Radio info is okay, but the plane's radar shows live what is happening. As they circle, they see heavy rain over Singapore. Worse, big rain over the backup airports Paya Lebar and Sinai. This is bad. Pilots need choices, but now they have few. But south, on Batam Island in Indonesia, things look better. Winds are light, and rain is not too bad. The pilots remember Batam as a possible backup if Singapore does not work. Then, winds at Singapore change a lot. Now they like runway 02L, the other way. For planes coming from north like Flight 319, this means going south the long way after holding. The pilots change the computer for runway 02L. Then, they leave the hold. The controller gives directions to set up for runway 02L. Passengers are buckled, cabin ready for landing. This will not be nice. Heavy rain at the airport, visibility down to 2 miles. Soon, it drops to 500 meters. Not what they expected, but they can still try if it does not get worse. They do the landing checks and slow down. But bad news, winds changed again. Planes on 02L have too much tailwind. Winds keep switching no matter the runway. By now, 2 planes already went around because of winds and rain. Not good, but they can try and hope it gets better near the runway. But before they can, the radio says all flights to Singapore stop while they check the weather. Things get harder now. Control tells Flight 319 to go to Samco and hold there. They say 5 minutes. As they fly to Samco, they check Batam weather. It is good, but at low height, fuel burns quick. If hold longer than 5 minutes, they must go elsewhere. The captain tells Control they can do 1 hold then divert. At 4:10 p.m., they hold at Samco. Good. Samco is same distance to Singapore and Batam. Easy to go either way. They wait for word on where to go. But more bad news. Visibility in Singapore under 500 meters, no better. Control tells Indonesia about the low fuel and possible go to Batam. But pilots want Singapore, their home airport. Maybe weather improves. But each minute in hold means fewer tries to land. In this weather, they might need more than 1 try. Not taking extra fuel in London now hurts. As they near Samco for second hold, Captain reminds Control, after this, divert. Control says go south. But south is away from both airports. Captain asks why. Control says Singapore not taking planes, Batam not approved yet. Stuck. Captain asks to do an orbit at Samco. A full circle turn, not full hold. Control says okay. This buys time if Singapore opens. But before orbit, fuel hits final reserve. Must divert now. Captain says go to Batam. He takes over flying. His experience helps for first try at Batam. He tells passengers over speaker. Due to weather, we go to Batam. They do not know how bad yet. Control says fly south for runway 22 at Batam. Captain asks again about Singapore. No? Even now, they hope. Control sends them south of Batam. First 120 degrees, then east for approach. Indirect, but no approval yet. Fuel low, pressure high. Will they make it before final fuel? Or declare emergency? First officer says minimum fuel to Control. Not emergency, but says they must land at Batam, no changes or less fuel than needed. If delay, emergency. But Control says Batam not approved. They keep going. At 4:53 p.m., 13 miles from Batam, computer says arrive with just final fuel. No choice. Captain says Mayday fuel. Mayday means emergency. Now they can approach Batam. Control turns them north to Tower. Captain flies. First officer checks charts. Bad. Wind makes runway 22 in use. Runway 22 has no ILS, just VOR for side guide. No up-down guide, so first officer calls heights from charts. Not big problem, but VOR minimum is 440 feet to see runway, higher than ILS 390 feet on runway 04. In bad weather, harder to see. They start approach. Captain goes down, first officer calls heights. Plane big, burns fuel low. Few tries. Autopilot lines side, captain controls down. He watches pink symbol for path to runway beacon. If drift, autopilot fixes. But at 1,600 feet, tower says winds from behind. Gust 30 knots, too much. Storm came to bat him. Captain aborts. Full power. Gear up. Climb to 2,000 feet. Pressure builds. Now land with less than final fuel. Worse, storms move to airport. They dodge, set for runway 04. Good, it has ILS. Autopilot can guide all way, even land. Captain plans that, but need to turn left. Good approach needs time, but no time. So tight teardrop, turn to catch ILS quick. Workload high. Captain turns right. First officer changes computer for ILS to 04. Soon see runway. First officer tells control, they see it. Control to tower. Plane close, so captain off autopilot, flies by hand. Plan, get on beams, then autopilot land. Rain heavy, visibility 500 meters. Busy, no call to tower. Control cannot see, no clearance. Normal ILS catch at 2 to 3,000 feet, 10 to 15 miles out. But they close, at 800 feet get signal. Hasty approach, on autopilot, but warning, no auto land. Plane off beam side and up down. Auto needs perfect. Captain shocked, wanted auto. Disconnects, flies hand, but too close. At 130 feet, go around. Engines full, plane up. Now awful. 2 fails, 2 runways, fuel critical. Rules say after 2 misses, go elsewhere if third bad. But no fuel to go. Committed to bat him. 280 people, huge pressure. Captain tells tower going around. Short approach and auto plan cost this try. Longer hand fly might have worked. Also prep mistake. Approach course 41 degrees, runway 42. No auto possible. Used to big airports with auto. Bat him not. Airline notes from pilots missed this. No time to think. Captain turns right, up to 3,000 feet, parallel runway for another 04. Control says wind 340 at 7 knots. Okay either. But captain near, heading for 04. Says low fuel, only 04, must work. About to turn right. Control says visibility up to 800 meters. Still bad, but better. Captain turns to runway, down. To avoid last mistake, approach control stays, passes tower messages. Turn too close for side catch, so overshoot, catch from other side. Slow, flaps gear down, for last try. Fuel almost gone, just bit sloshing. Cannot see runway in clouds. Use beams. Then out clouds, too high, left of center. Normal go around, but no. Must land or no fuel. Nose down, 1,400 feet per minute, double normal. People feel light, plane dips, banks left to line. Last chance. View not like usual stable, but committed. Suddenly, warning, sink rate. Choice, go around by training or land risky. Both bad. Captain goes around, 200 feet up, nose up, power. Plane shakes, up for third time. Passengers panic. Why no land? What wrong? Pilots know. 3 fails, no fuel for another 04. Engine stops soon. Plane glider, hard to land safe. Adrenaline high, captain does risky. At 2,000 feet, tight 180 teardrop for runway 22, down, flaps gear. Last chance. Control, wind northwest 15 knots. 5 tail, 15 cross, near limit 10 tail. No choice. Wrangles plane, visual approach. Runway in view. Rules gone. Stable or not, just land safe. Near runway. Pressure, tailwind fast. No error. Go around means no engines. Runway 4,000 meters, enough. Question, stable enough? People hold tight, plane sways. Will land, or fourth up. 200. At 5:19 p.m., over threshold, touches down. Relief huge. After hour hell, 280 safe. Bare fuel, taxi to gate. So close to disaster. Similar could happen without good end. Singapore Airlines changes. Better rules for divert when destination unsure or no clear updates. Review all airport info, detail like auto lands. Remind pilots check charts for beam runway match. Make simulator for this. Test fuel rules, safe choices in bad weather. Flight 319 lucky. Not all are. See Avianca 52 for bad end.